Hey, Steve.
Good morning. How are you, Jen?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, 10 minutes to 8. I feel like I should have slept for 5 more hours.
Hey, I just saw in the paper you're having a Oktoberfest, like
Yeah, yeah,
next weekend or this
yeah,
weekend.
not
Sorry.
it's this weekend, not really as the paper stated. The article got ran a little prematurely. We are not having live music, but we will be, playing fun polka type music, and we're going to be grilling brats and serving that instead of the pizza at the brewery. So it'll be a nice event, and we're going to use a bunch of the picnic tables we put behind the brewery on our additional space back there, so that we can seat people. I think we're gonna get a lot of people because of the Leafs and the warm weather this weekend, and so we'll have a lot of fun.
Cool. I was happy to see it. I can put it in the weekly email if you want.
That would be great. Just don't include live music because we won't have live music.
Okay. Right on.
Morning, Paul. Can't hear you if you're there. Your face looks
I
very
think
stiff.
he's got himself on mute for a minute.
Yeah, he's got that picture to make him look like he's there, but he's not.
Yeah. And my computer doesn't have video on it, so I'm not trying to hide.
Time
Though it
time
is
up.
kind of nice.
Time up. Yeah, right. You time to upgrade, Jen. We all got to show our lovely faces. You do too. So, if anything, do what Paul does: take a picture of yourself and get it on there.
Yeah, I could do that, I guess.
Kind of sitting behind your desk, and
Hard at work.
looking like you're working.
How are you liking Empire?
Good. The place has done okay this summer. Did what I wanted it to do, and um, gave us a chance to cut our teeth on running a restaurant, which is good. That'll help us when we get next door to the brewery fired up. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, um,
Cool.
a lot of work, but um, this is the life we choose.
Yeah, I love Empire. It's a cool town.
Yeah, the back deck
And
of it is awesome.
you must get a lot of people from Grand Lake and Granby and Fraser and all that. I bet
We
you,
do.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in summer you definitely pull people off the highway. We got a nice little local business, but it's a very small community. So yeah,
Yeah.
we get a lot of people who recognize the brewery, and they said, "Oh, we didn't know you were now in this building." We put the big sign up in front of the building, so that helps draw people in.
Cool. Yeah, I noticed that. It looks good.
Tried to get a sign big enough that you can see from the top of Berthoud Pass, but didn't work.
Do you hear are you feeling are you getting a sniffle?
Uh, I think we got smoke again here in Evergreen. I don't know if it's smoky up in Georgetown,
It
but
is a little bit. Yeah, that definitely affects. Yeah.
yeah, that's been happening. When it got really smoky the other week, I got all congested. The smoke cleared with the snowstorm, and my congestion went away. And so now it's coming back, I think.
Dang it.
Morning, Kyle.
Hey Steve, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Paul, or Kevin.
Hey,
whoever-
Paul.
It's Paul.
Paul.
You know everyone. Yeah, the smoke is. I'm coughing everywhere at work because I got bronchitis from the smoke, and people are looking at me horribly. I'm COVID negative. I know it. I just got. So,
You should put not COVID written on your mask.
yeah, I'll put out like my little thing from Kaiser. COVID negative. Hey, Jen, can you do me a favor? I don't know if you have this at your fingertips, but Library Park has a permanent sound. I believe we have a permanent sound permit there, right?
For what?
Park.
Are you talking about a certain date?
No, are we required to get a sound permit every time? I thought a permanent sound permit.
No, we haven't been doing that because we kind of just figured that the library stage, people will expect, we've been having the mountain jams every weekend, so we haven't really been requiring it for the library stage. I can if you want us to.
We probably gonna have to because we've been harassed for a year and it's just become intense this year. It was something you could just brush off by like a fly by a single person. And so I'm looking at what our rates are and all that.
So someone's been harassing you about not having a amplified sound permit?
No, they harass about, they don't like the music, they harass about the noise levels, they harass about everything. And I kind of ignored it for a year and then it's just been a thing. And so I'm over it. And I want to make sure that the people there when I'm not there aren't going to have to catch some crap from someone. I bought a decibel meter, but anyway, I just wanted to find out what the actual realities were because I was under the impression that there was like a permanent dispensation at Library Park because we've always had music there.
I guess there's not a permanent one like you're saying. I just kind of, I guess figured since we were having the mountain jams all the time that people were okay with music there. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't had any complaints.
Well, that's good to hear.
But that's good to know.
That way. We've had mountain jams for a decade now. And so I do know that there was some pushback from this person on the building of the stage. There were like a couple people, this is before me, the stage happened before me, but I've been with mountain jams the whole time. So I just want to try to stop, and I'm glad it's not coming to that level yet, but it might because I'm not accepting it. So I just want to see where we are. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Well, you ought to get that done before Led Zeppelin plays next weekend, right?
Oh my God! I swear to God, I'm bringing hip hop. I'm going. No, it just whatever. I just want to stop a person who has become increasingly belligerent in their opposition to everything, from discouraging well-meaning people from doing what they need to do, and that includes artists and stage workers. And it's the same thing with things like, why we don't have. It's just why we can't have nice things here. So.
Well, no, I don't know if it's to say we shouldn't talk about sources or anything, but when we had the Ford versus Ferrari cars in the mall for all but an hour, I had someone come up, and while I was talking to them, and to start, telling Carolyn how those two cars and other cars are ruining his business every time they get parked and we do something. So I don't know how cars ruin his business at 4:00 in the afternoon, but it was a little bit embarrassing. I had to make sure I put myself between the person and the owners of the cars, so that they wouldn't get distracted by him.
Yeah, and I absolutely, God, it's frustrating, and I understand that, and And then we can do the best that we can to be polite. But what I'm thinking is, in this situation anyway, it may have just been a grandfathered in, old school small town. We already knew it was a stage deal. And I think that in situations like this, because of this growing, the increase, that we just, my first response back is to mind my P's and Q's and make sure my ducks are in a row before I don't want to push back hard, but before you push back at all. And it's just sad. It's sad that the lack of understanding of how marketing works sometimes is very sad, but I mean, we're not all and I'm not certainly a marketing person, but just basics like that. And then just the general, just the word that keeps going through my head lately is killjoy, and I'm not going to let that happen. So
Yeah, and hey Amanda, hey Jan, how are you guys doing?
Good morning.
I'll stop.
But I think we're just rambling, guys, because this is kind of a creative session, I believe. But one of the things that, honestly, it has a really negative impact. Nobody wants to be around that much. Let me speak for myself. I don't be around that much negativity. That's why, I thought the 6th Street Mall, when I was with the Ford versus Ferrari guys, it just, the whole thing left me a little bit depressed. That, there was a food truck that I know works well when it's open, but it was 4:00 in the afternoon. It was not working. It's not a real pretty truck, but it's a truck nevertheless, and it added to the abandoned feel of downtown Georgetown, and so that's why at that point in time, on having a negative impact on the position I took was 100% on business, and it didn't mean it shouldn't have taken into account public safety. And I'm glad, and I'm very happy actually with the outcome of the Board of Selectmen vote to keep it open. But from a business perspective, the street would have been better with social distance. And I know that does express your opinion. 2 years, at least I've been running it as chairman. People is, just, it is not, it's a little stupid that all add up, and so people attending it and wanting to make their therapeutic support, guys.
Kevin.
Opportunity to park Ferraris in front of Hotel de Paris. I guarantee you nobody trouble in that block. Start my block more.
Well, I do exactly that, but we are still going to use the block that's in like they do at the Daytona after the race, and they just go round and round and round and leave skid marks all over. So I'm just
smoking tires.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah, so I know that we mentioned going over kind of visitor experience on this, and I don't want to derail the conversation, but in terms of the digital stuff that I've been talking about the last couple months, I compiled some thoughts, and I was hoping to be okay if I just kind of share some of those. Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah.
Cool. So first, I guess I'll recap the problem I keep harping on, and that's that right now we have funds being pointed at Bullfinch, Slate, and Vols Media, and I think that that was a great decision to do that, and we covered a lot of ground in the last couple of years. However, now we're seeing a shifting landscape, and I think that those funds are being spent suboptimally now. So, the last few months, when I brought this problem in front of you guys, I coupled it to the solution of, let's look at what Idaho Springs is doing, and let's look at the agency that they're using and everything else. But after multiple conversations, I'm realizing that solution did not go the whole 9 yards. It was, not through lack of effort, I don't think, but just kind of, I I wasn't landing on the solution that we need. And I feel like after thinking about it more, I have a stronger opinion on what a solution is. And I'll share that with you. Of course, feel free to disagree. But first of all, in terms of like having a local around, we talked about that a lot. I know at least when Bullfinch came on, and I think it's a good idea. And I think where it's necessary is the social media manager. And that's the communication that's happening all the time. That's who we need getting content from around town and posting it and providing it to other platforms that we're on or any articles, that kind of thing. So I think having Travis in town doing social media, great. Like that's money well spent in my opinion. Bullfinch and Slate, however, there's too much specialization there. We've got too many cooks in the kitchen. And in my opinion, what we need is an agency that is more general purpose. And if we're thinking locally for an agency like that, we're going to have a limited level of competence just because the population density is lower. So if we reach into Denver, I think we can get a much higher level of quality from an agency. My thought is shop a large number of agencies in Denver, and I'm happy to take this on myself. I have the industry knowledge to know what questions to ask and to know how to negotiate, what's a fair price, get a large number of them, whittle down what I think are good options, present them to the commission. And this is just my opinion, in terms of a budget that I'm negotiating with. The money currently going to Bullfinch and Slate is the money that we use to negotiate with an agency on. And then obviously if it's possible to find money elsewhere and make that number larger, that's only going to make my life easier, but I understand we have a very limited budget. And so I'm happy to work with just those two items. But that's my thing. My opinion, that is to address the issue of our digital situation. I think that could really start moving the ball forward. If we got someone in place that could interface with Travis, really work on our messaging, really work on continuity of brand within the town, I think that would be pretty powerful.
Go ahead, Amanda.
First off, I really like the direction that Kyle's taking it. And one of the thoughts that I came into this call with was similar, with one exception. And that was that maybe instead of an agency, that we try to market a position for an individual, and that it was an individual who, and I want to be very clear, it's not because of anything that the people in the current positions have done wrong, but maybe rolling in the role that Carolyn, Travis, Kyle, and Slate have into a paid position for town.
So, yes, I don't think that's bad logic. My response to that, though, I guess would be that an agency is going to be able to draw on a large number of people with varying types of expertise. You know, a good agency is going to have a PR person, a social media person, a web developer, and you just need a lot of people for that kind of work. You know what I mean? It's hard to get one person that can be a Swiss Army knife like that. In my opinion, that's what we need.
That's fair. And I think part of where I'm a little bit frustrated is I feel like we should have that in Slate. And I think that, I mean, that was for all intents and purposes what Slate was to do when we contracted with them, which I'm trying to remember how long have we had the Slate contract? Has it been like 2.5, 3 years?
Yeah. And I suppose the same criticism could probably be levied at Bullfinch. And it's one of those things that is when you're working with the client, you're realizing what your strong suits are. I know for Bullfinch, it's a new business, been around a year. And for me, the big wake up call was seeing what Idaho Springs is doing and seeing that I don't have the resources to do what Idaho Springs is doing. And we should be doing better than them. Like that's possible. I think that we should be, am trying to be forthcoming about like my opinion on, not even as a representative of Bullfinch at this point, just a member of the commission, and saying like, what's the
For
best
sure.
path forward?
The one thing I would say though is that I've never once in your role, from the Bullfinch perspective, and maybe the other commission members disagree, I've never felt like your role was our marketing. You were fixing a lot of the issues that we had from a website that, and we can sit here and point fingers on the website, and it goes back to 2 designers ago or 2 hosts ago, whatever. I don't know the technical term, but that was never your responsibility, and I appreciate you taking that on. But that's what Slate was for, in my opinion. And that's where I feel like we either need to hold Slate accountable, like go to Slate and have a very specific meeting with them and say, we hired you guys for this. This is what we need. Or like you said, we cut ties and we look for an agency or someone that can do this for us. And again, my thought, I do see your point that is that's kind of a unicorn position. But I feel like one of the issues we have is accountability, and we have a lot of people, and it's not necessarily fair to them that they don't have the best means of accountability to do their jobs well. And that's not, and they do, I mean, all things considered, especially, Travis with the social media, it's natural to him, things like that. And Carolyn has stepped up and done a lot of really great stuff. And I know you're listening, Carolyn, and we're grateful for that. But I think it's hard that you don't have a specific like direction that's like, today you're marketing, tomorrow you're doing this. And I don't know if that exists. Maybe I'm being naive.
May I speak? Kyle, I would like to also say that you're I think you've met every expectation, because I was around when you were hired. I think you've met every expectation that you put forth to us. You said that you were going to search all the different things you were going to do. I'm not going to even go into them. So you've done that. You've met your goals, and whether or not you see that you're against a wall without further support is, I think, admirable. I agree with Amanda, but I also feel that it's a unicorn position. And I think that where we've been is in a situation where Slate, so I remember this Slate situation too, and I just don't feel they've delivered. And I always feel that Slate, because I used to watch this as a non-member, and and not to bag them, but I just feel that I almost feel that we're an afterthought. And I've noticed it almost at every meeting, because in the beginning it's like, yes, we can do all this stuff for you. We'll provide these deliverables. We'll provide all this stuff, even to the point of going to a seminar and expecting deliverables back for information to help people market themselves with them. That never occurred. They never appeared anywhere. And so it's important to have a group like that, but we can't be their afterthought. And I also, but every time now that Slate does that and we come at them, which is understandable from one perspective, we were supposed to be a soup to nuts package, but every time they come back at us, they say, not within your budget, not within your budget, not within your budget. It'll take extra. And then I feel every time we meet with them now, it's a new sales pitch for a new thing. And it's not what seemed to be the original concept of it. So if we're going to work with a soup to nuts, I've always, if we're going to work with a soup to nuts kind of group, which does bring on their strength, it's got to be someone with a big tie to our county. And it's got to be, and I know I'm sounding strange, but it's got to be someone with a big tie to our county, someone who really cares, and someone who's hungry to develop through us the rest of their portfolio. Because if we get with somebody who has a huge portfolio like Slate does again, they're so tied in with CTO, and they've done some really great things for us. But at the same time, we become the afterthought a little bit, the small potatoes, and then they're like, oh, we got to get that going for you. And I don't think that and it's probably not their fault. I think you're right. It's probably just a lack of synergistic thought. Like we're not on the same pattern all the time. We always seem to be slightly off on the same page. The last video was great though. I will say that. So that's how
and I'm just trying to speak frankly here and find a solution. So I'm certainly not trying to disparage anyone, but Slate, in my opinion, just isn't the right caliber. I don't think that there's any client that's not an afterthought. In my opinion, like that, anytime I've interfaced with them, it's just not a high quality level of business that they're performing at, in my opinion. And, you know, nothing against them and no offense, business is hard. Look, I get it, but we need someone good. And I don't think that they're going to suddenly become that. I think that we need to look at this with sober eyes and start looking for the right match. Cause I do think it's out there. I've interfaced with a number of agencies in Denver that are just incredible and inspiring people to work with, but I don't get that from Slate.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm noticing though, even on social media, is that we're getting a lot of pictures in the mountains. And I know that we made that directive, but then we've made a shift and changes. Oh, am I over talking?
No, you're good.
Oh, we made a shift, you know, during COVID. And then now we've made a shift on the street where we have a lot of music. We have a lot of things going on. Last Monday was really busy. And, you know, this weekend was pretty good. It actually was great. Kudos, Carolyn, on getting vendors and stuff. We had music, and then on Labor Day was really lively, and that was, you know, because of a buy-in from a business. And there were no posts other than posts that we may have made ourselves. And so we need to have that tie-in, and maybe if we need that direction going out, somebody like I think you said, who can interface with an organization who can pull the full package together and then work with our people if we need to say, hey, you know what, let's look at this direction this week. Let's look at this direction this week, and make that a fuller package than just, we tend to focus on one aspect of who we are rather than our full scope. And so I'm with you.
So this is Carolyn. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have been putting together graphic images to advertise our mountain jams and art in the park. And I don't know if Travis is on the call, but he's been pushing back. Like, he keeps saying, you got to get better, or these aren't good enough. And I noticed even last weekend, he did not post the artist takeover or the art in the park on our Instagram page. It was really frustrating. And I keep trying something different, and I keep asking him, what do I need to do? And he doesn't have any advice for me. So my images last week included photographs. I started taking photographs and using photographs, and I think it's a much better image. I don't know, Kyle, I sent the updated images to you to put on the website. You can tell me whether they're getting better and more in line with what we're doing. But I don't know if Travis is on. Maybe he can say more. Is he on?
I don't believe.
No, Travis isn't on.
Something
All
that
right,
I
well, so that's my frustration, is that, like, last weekend, neither of the art events got put out on Instagram. He did put them on Facebook with my copy that I wrote. But, you know, it's frustrating. It's not going to be a beautiful art picture when you're advertising an event. It's just not. It's going to have words. It's going to be, you know, it's going to have information on it. It's not going to be a beautiful art picture, you know? And that was what his pushback was. It doesn't fit our look, he told me, to put those things on Instagram. And so let me back up. So jumping on what Paul said, maybe what if that agency can do slicker looking promotional images for our events, that would really help me, because clearly it's not my forte.
Yeah.
So
I
mean, I shared all of those images, by the way, on Facebook, and then Travis liked them as our website, and I tagged everybody. I tagged the whole world with your images. However, I will say that no one reached out to me, and you know, Mountain Jams, no one reached out to me on that. We do have artwork and a branding scheme. We just decided not to advertise largely with posters this year, but we did not mention a lot of things on those posters that are standard marketing procedure. So Travis is correct, but I didn't want to thwart your efforts, because I know that you made efforts where there was a vacuum. We need to make sure, and this is why I keep saying professional graphics, because there's so many things that we're missing off that, and it's not that expensive to get somebody in who can do each event as they go. We just didn't put those monies behind that at this moment, but we do need, and I would have appreciated just a little bit of outreach, since I've been doing that event for a decade. So, and I know that I tend to be too slow because I'm a perfectionist, but that would have worked. I'm gonna pull off now, and I agree with Amanda, but maybe you're right. Maybe we do need to have somebody who can do all those different things in a group that can make that happen for us within our marketing skills. But also, each individual event has a sub-branding scheme that sometimes that works with this group, because Arts in the Park is multiple, or Mountain Jams is a multi-agency event for one. So I agree with you.
At this point, do we want to have Kyle and his generous offer of time, take a look at what's out there in Denver, and have all of us understand, what these various companies might be able to do to fill these gaps?
Is there any chance that we would consider trying to, we really, let me back up. I'm totally fine with us looking at an agency again, but we're going to open that up to a new round of RFPs. It's really important that whoever we work with has a relationship with Colorado CTO, Colorado Tourism Office, and can work with CAS. That's really important, because Cassandra's an amazing resource for Clear Creek, and that relationship is really important as far as like the resources that she has, and it needs to be a cohesive relationship. That's where I would say, if there was a possibility, I know it is kind of a unicorn position, but if we could attempt to advertise for a full-time position. I mean, I realize, again, this is not a dig on Carolyn or Travis, and they could certainly apply for the position, but if we had that option for someone that was locally full-time, in charge of marketing, in charge of the website. But again, I know I'm reaching for a unicorn. And if we need to go through an agency, I'm good with that. But I would like to see if we could find a human, just one. Maybe I'm too hopeful.
I think it's definitely, like, you could probably fill the position. I definitely think that you could get someone in place. I just think that a single person is going to be lacking somewhere. Like, the likelihood of someone being able to do everything that is needed here, my opinion is just, I just think it's low. But certainly we could take a swing at it and see what kind of applicants we get, and look at resumes and look at portfolios, and you never know. Maybe you find that person that's quietly living up here and can do the thing.
Under a rock somewhere.
They've just been waiting to work for a small town their whole lives.
Let's go to Kevin, and then I know Jan raised her hand.
We're making the assumption that Kent wants to manage another staff person and wants to build his staff. And so I don't think that's really our place to do without Kent chiming in on it. So I think we need to be cautious about that, adding to his workload. And then I also think that we need to make sure whoever, whether it's an individual or a team, whoever gets hired, someone does need to manage that contract or that staff person, and make sure that they're fulfilling their job description.
Kent, do you want to weigh in, buddy?
As far as a person, I think the financial limitations will come into play. I just think a person that you're talking about, it will be more than the entire promotions budget. of, you know, and I like the idea that you have, Amanda. I think it goes to what the goals should be, of what we expect and the expectations. I don't think we've reached that with Slate. And I think that, but it got us to a point where, okay, now we know we don't want. So there's some things that have worked well and some things haven't. And one thing we know that we want to hang on to is the relationship with CTO and a couple other things. And the building our library of photo and video and really having a library of that. But I like Kyle's idea of a firm just because you can concentrate and you can have it really be specified. What are your expectations? And then there can be 2 or 3 people within the firm. You can also have backups so that if someone's not available, they have another resource. That's where I feel more comfortable with the firm idea than with a person idea. Just as long as the expectations are what this board wants within it, and that there's regular communication regarding that. I don't think, but I think we're also going to run up against, we're not going to be able to afford to say, we're your number one client. And we're, everything. And that's where we have our expectations on one side and what can realistically be delivered. And I'd be excited about an opportunity to work with another firm, but I would have tempered expectations. What are we really wanting to get out of it? And what are the results? And also, let's don't set the bar so high so that in a year or two, we say the same thing regarding the new firm, regarding it. And let's make sure that they can succeed. And that's where I like it. And I like what Carolyn's provided so far as someone who's specific to the events and a specific resource that helps make them happen. But I don't want it just in just one person. So I know there's the essence of accountability, but I don't want accountability just one person for every single little thing. I like having a little bit of, okay, this person's taking care of this and this person taking care of this, because they can be really accountable. And it's not just, okay, for 365 days a year, there's only one person, and that one person has to get everything done. And I don't see the opportunity for success for that. So.
I know Kevin raised his hand again, but Jan, are you on this subject or should we let Kevin speak first? You're on mute, Jan, so we can't hear you. Go ahead now. No, you're off mute, but we can't hear you. Go ahead, Kevin, while Jan's having technical difficulties, so.
I think that we have made progress on getting our house in order. So, we have our social media platforms up and active. We have the website fixed. What I'd like to see is somebody propose sort of a map of where we need to be when going into the future. What I've learned in my career is there's never a magic bullet that fixes everything. It's a lot of different components working together all at the same time. And so 2 major pieces would be social media and website. And I think we've got those taken care of. So where do we go next so that we start building momentum and creating that magic? I don't have an answer. It's a rhetorical question, but I do think that we've done a lot of work. We have a lot of things in place, but where do we go next? And how do we get there and keep building on these successes?
Well, and it's not only building on the successes, but it's learning from the things that didn't work out too well. I think Amanda's point about Slate is, yeah, we got some value out of that, but it was very short-term value, and 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 I wouldn't, and it sounds like Kyle's providing a very positive path to just say it's not the idea of having that agency, it's how they executed or didn't execute. And then at the same time, we all, and I think Amanda agrees, we all know the challenges of staffing in Georgetown and hiring a person. And, Amanda and I played a role on interviewing and when we hired Carolyn, and it was very happy we got Carolyn on board, but there wasn't a huge pool, and I don't know how that may have changed, and if we'd be lucky enough to get someone of Carolyn's caliber going forward. So go ahead, Kevin.
Another component that we have in place, we have a brand. And that's what Slate brought to the table. Now, whether that brand has been executed fully, I don't think it has. It comes and it goes. The vintage Colorado, sometimes I see it, usually I don't. And so what I would like to see is for all of us to recommit ourselves to that branding and use that hashtag Vintage Colorado without fail. And also what I would like to see is all the members of this group map all of our actions, all of our ideas, all of our conversations to the mission of this group. And, I like to commit things to memory. I have not committed the mission of this group to memory. I know our general purpose is to create an environment to promote business in Georgetown. Maybe that's our mission. But, maybe we need to have that on the top of all of our meeting minutes. We need to remind ourselves, we need to map to that so that we don't get unfocused.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think everything every idea and everything we do should meet a test, and whether the test is to fall within our mission, and perhaps there's other questions. And if it doesn't meet the sniff test, then yeah, exactly. We talked about, and again, it doesn't seem to be a big point, but I also know it gets a lot of discussion. Having scarecrows on 6th Street, right? Is it Victorian? Does it fit in with what we're trying to do? Ferraris on 6th Street. Last time I checked, there were no cars when Georgetown was founded, especially the Cobras.
But that's the beauty of our brand. It's vintage, and so it encompasses all eras.
Yeah, no, I agree. But then the other thing that I think we tend to spend a lot of time with, and I'm not saying unnecessarily, is sometimes you just got to promote. Sometimes you gotta allow the town to serve as an appropriate backdrop to a carnival or whatever the case may be. And I don't, and maybe, part of my ignorance, but maybe our mission does say everything's got to fit and be period correct and everything. I think we have those opportunities, but we should have the other opportunities that are blatantly trying to drive revenues for businesses in town. And Georgetown provides the backdrop of why people would come to our car show versus going to another car show, because they're going to go to our car show, but they're also going to visit your museum and enjoy everything that the town has to offer. And I think we get caught. We spend a lot of time on the semantics and the appropriateness of how things fit in versus saying, time to put our used car salesman jackets on and let's start selling some popcorn and all of that. So.
As a history person, I don't want to push just history. I think that could become, and has been at times, divisive in this community. And so it needs to be more well-rounded. It needs to be, and in fact, years ago, we abandoned a term called period of significance. Usually historic property defines its period of significance, start date, end date. I threw that out the window probably 5 years ago. Our period of significance at the museum is now. It encompasses everything, including what we're doing today. And so that's my attitude. If we just talk history, that is just a percentage of our community. It's not the whole community. So I think that's a mistake. I think what you're saying, Steve, is correct. It needs to be the backdrop. It needs to be the beauty, the reason that people want to come here, but we cannot just sell history because that is a limited market.
Jan, did you get your problem fixed?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
You got the floor.
I gotta remember what I was gonna say now. I got COVID brain, I tell you. So I was from way back when Paul was talking about a company that would do all these things that's local, and I hope you guys read the recommendations for Frozen Fire. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if we are interviewing companies, I would like to think that they would be one of them that we would talk to, because those of us that have worked with them have been more than happy. So I wanted to say that. And then sometimes I feel like I'm frustrated with the fact that I hear we can't promote a certain business where we can only promote Georgetown as a whole. Well, the last video that Slate did, I know everybody, well, most of y'all seem to like it, but I was like, okay, it's beautiful. It's all nature. It showed some beautiful scenery, which Travis does a great job with. We have gorgeous scenery pictures, but we don't have any pictures of interaction of people in town doing business, coming into shops. That video showed, the wood paneling up in the windows of Lucha. It showed a half empty 6th Street, when there are times when 6th Street is vibrant looking or more vibrant looking. So I'm in agreement that Slate, I don't think is fulfilling what we want. And I do like the thought of having an agency that comes in, and then there's an offer for us to send pictures to the county and blah, blah, blah video. Well, there is a good percentage of our merchants that don't take pictures. They don't know how to do video. So we would need somebody who can come in and help. Let's do a nice short video clip of your business so we can put it out there. We need that kind of help in this town. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the comment on the video part of what you said, Jan, I don't know, maybe I think it's just, anybody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think shooting video of customers going into a merchant store and interacting, whether it's one or two of them or three of them that appear in the video, somehow, some way promotes a business versus not promoting the town and everything. I would hope that's not a hard, fast rule within the context of what Jan is saying. Within that, I could see if the town had a feature, video, and it was all jerky and, close-ups of here's our special and everything else versus just capturing, I think Jan's point is very simple. You just capture people in the right spots. If 6th Street is, if don't catch a person in front of a boarded up Luchas, catch them in front of the jerky shop or the museum or something else. So, Kevin?
I think the purpose of us not promoting specific businesses, which is very difficult and maybe even impossible, by the way, is those businesses who don't get promoted because they don't have collateral, or they're not open all the time, or they don't do sales or special events, then become very vocal. Hey, I didn't get my turn. And so this is a real conundrum for us. The businesses that show up more are the ones who are more active. And then the businesses who aren't doing as much are the ones who complain about that. And so I don't have an answer, but Jan, I completely agree. It's very, very difficult to try to promote business and then not show a business. Having done the social media, I used to do reshares all the time. And I got criticized by other businesses because they're like, why do you keep showing Hotel de Paris? Or why do you keep showing, so-and-so? It's because they have content, they have collateral, they're doing something. And so I don't have an answer, but it's a dilemma. And maybe if our mission for this group is written in such a way that it's trapping us, maybe we need to rewrite what we do. And so I just asked Jen to try to track down what our mission is. I'd like to look at it.
Yeah, so let me go to Paul. He raised his hand, then I'll go back to you, Jen. A shirt full, Paul, not a shirt.
I'm so sorry. How embarrassing. Kevin called me and told me that I was flashing all of you with my beautiful body. I've just been watching too much TikTok, and shirtless gets more likes.
We just saw your broad shoulders. That was it. So it wasn't very offensive. So
I was ironing. Anyway, so I agree with I do agree with Jan on the one point that we can definitely show people's stores. We can show stores fronts as a group. We can go in and do a little more of what the Idaho Springs group is doing. I understand Kevin's dilemma too, because it has been the reality of the situation. And then if you're not in so-and-so store on the one day they're open three times a year, you're in trouble. So all of it is a conundrum, but I do think that we need a broader look at who we are and what we're doing, and to show the liveliness. Jan, you're absolutely right on that. It's we're coming out of this. We're learning to live with COVID a little more, and we're learning to strike these balances. And that's what I think this whole conversation's become, is what is the balance here that we're trying to meet? To go back to Steve's point and where Kevin was, there is a vast difference between historic preservation in a historic landmark district and reenactment. And we are not reenactors. We're an historic town that's living in the 21st century. And usually reenactment, I have a trouble with all of that kind of stuff. Like, you have to be perfect, and you have to be, or rather that we need to have old-timey this, old-timey that, because usually it's wrong. It's somebody's idea of it. And as we're learning in Black Ties Matter, there are a lot of people who don't like certain levels of it because we're interpreting stuff that didn't mean the same thing to everybody. And we're interpreting it in a way that's not correct. It's from one vision that actually usually happened in the late 20th century or mid 20th century. My point with that is there's also a difference between branding and saying that something is historically appropriate. So Kevin brought the thought into maintaining our brand, which I'm sure Kyle can reiterate. Every marketer I've ever worked with, and I did have a marketing program at one point, every marketer I've ever worked with has always said, go back to brand, go back to brand, go back to brand. If you have to stray, do it every now and then and do it on the fly because you had to stray. I get that. And that's what happened last weekend, which was great. But don't stray if you don't have to. So if there's time, sure, you want to do scarecrows. Is that our brand? Not is it period appropriate? Is it our brand? Is it who Georgetown is? Because we're trying to get to the right customer, not just any customer. And so, and I think you'll find that when you see that the town is packed with people, but there's no money, or the lake is packed with people, but all we get calls for are that the toilets are overrun, that they're not being cleaned, but there's no money to clean the toilets. So I think that balance is where we're looking to strike. And I think Kevin brought it up, and I think somebody else brought it up, but maybe we need to we're strategizing. This is a broad meeting, but it would be nice to strategize specifically what we want. And I think we've laid some of that out, and we need to start tracking back to what we've decided we want. And, but we can't also get tangled in our underwear, as a man used to say, and just not ever do anything because we're sitting on our hands, which I tend, I'll go into perfectionism mode and forget it. So thank you. And I'll turn it back over.
Yeah, let me, Jan had her hand up first. I don't know if you wanted to respond, but then Amanda, you've got something?
We're all in agreement. We have a marketing problem. We could talk about the mission and the branding till noon today. So what I would like us to do is come up with a consensus on the path forward. So are we opening up RFPs, number one, to marketing firms, which would give, if Frozen Fire wants to submit, by all means they can. If Slate wants to submit, by all means they can. And anybody else, we could, I don't know if you guys saw there was a link to a group that Cass sent over. It's a smaller group that just focuses on marketing and events. I looked at the website real briefly. It was in the chat. So we open up to RFPs. From there, we have our budget. Would it be appropriate for us to have a subcommittee from this group that meets with the marketing team after this is said and done once a month? And I would volunteer to run this or be a part of it, however you guys wanted to do it. That meets, it would be a posted meeting and meets with Carolyn, Travis, whomever the marketing person is, and keeps them on mission as a representative from this group. And then that way we have somebody from the group who's accountable, who gets the mission, somebody holding the components and the people accountable for their role in our marketing. And then that person reported back to the group.
Go ahead, Kyle.
So I think a subcommittee is a fantastic idea because this is a very large subject and we just don't have time for it. Normal promotions meeting to cover it in the amount of detail that it requires. And then you mentioned RFPs. One thing I wanted to say about the RFPs is it has the potential, in my opinion, to get bureaucratic, and agencies will send in RFPs with a bunch of fluff of here, we'll promise you the world. Whereas maybe before we start taking RFPs, we clearly define what we want. Like, for example, you guys were talking about the social media issue, and I think there's a technical solution there. The social media manager gets more organized. They have a queue. If you want to have a featured video once a week on the social media, then you can sign up for your queue. And if you want to complain about that, you can complain, but that's the rule. So, you know, all it's going to take is a little bit of organization to keep things fair and keep people quiet. But those things, we'll have to come up with those things, and we're going to have to clearly define what we need before we start taking the RFPs, in my opinion. And you know, you want them to put a little bit of creative energy into it and say, I think you guys need this. I think it'd be good to be open to that, but also I'd be nervous about just getting another slate and like have their RFP look fantastic, but then,
yeah.
You know. Well, yeah, I just to add my comments. I'm not an RFP expert from a town's perspective to make sure there's, you know, fairness and everything else, but I don't see why we couldn't, in the process of this commission coming up, is specifically what we want, coming up with the format for the RFP to say, here's the questions that we are going to look at first, your answers to these things. And it's a list of things to say, describe this, tell us about that, and all of this. And then they're welcome to attach an appendix to the RFP that says, here's everything else we want you to know about us, and here's all the fluff. But honestly, this commission is going to focus on two things. It's going to focus on their specific answers to the questions, and it's probably going to also focus on perhaps a later round narrowing down interview of the prospective top candidates. And it's really going to be based upon, again, what this group is looking for, and specifically, I wouldn't ever sit down and just get a bunch of papers on my desk and then get a bunch of companies coming and pitching me. It would put me to sleep. I'm on a mission as a volunteer organization to get the right thing in place with, you know, as quickly as we can with the limited amount of resources we have here to do that. And so I would do everything in my power to not make it a bureaucratic process, you know, to the
I
degree.
think we have to get RFPs at some point, maybe.
Not
Maybe I'm
suggesting
wrong.
we don't get an RFP. I'm saying, do we just say, give me your RFP, or do we say, here are 5 things we're looking for in an agency?
Yeah.
You want to veer off those 5 things? That's your choice. Chances are it may not even get looked at. Or, you know, I personally will go on record and I'll say, I'm not gonna read it. I mean, I don't have time to read it. You know, if I'm going to focus on the 5 things I would tell the agency to answer in their RFP, right? And just so we can check that box off.
We have a brand at this point. And the last time we went out for RFPs, when we hired Slate, we didn't have a brand. We didn't have a website that was cohesive. We didn't have content. We didn't have any of that. So I do think it's important that we look at where we've come, how far we've come, and acknowledge that we are in a much better position than we were 2.5, 3 years ago. But there is the impasse. So if we can legally get around doing the RFPs, that's fine. But I think that the ultimate goal for all of our time and sanity, in my opinion, would be a subcommittee that just reports back, this is what's happening, and helps with that organization. And I've seen it for as long as I've been on the commission. Kevin's been on longer than me. That one of our biggest challenges is the fact that we have all these really great ideas and everything is super cool and we've got the plan, but we can't get to the execution point because we are volunteers and there's too many of us. If we have one person who's accountable for that from this commission, or 2 people who are accountable, who are really passionate about this for the paid people, I think it will make the paid people's lives much easier and we'll get better results.
Yeah, I guess 2 things, just to make sure I'm clear. Amanda, I think we're talking about 2 things. Number one, I'm not suggesting we circumvent the RFP process. I'm saying we have a clear, concise, focused RFP. I don't want to hear, let's make a decision as commission, say, we're not interested in redesigning our website. So don't be proposing what our website should look at. Here are the 5 things we want you to tell us what you can do and how you can do it. And then I totally agree with you on the second point of how do we then manage the process with whatever agency we choose, and Carolyn and Volts and everybody else, right?
We're on the same page.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Just want to, Amanda, I think that's a nice offer for you to head that up. But I just want to say that Kyle kind of offered to do that earlier also. And maybe you weren't on, but he did mention that he had, you know, he's done a lot of great work, I feel like, with our website. And so as being part of the subcommittee, and he knows the right questions, he knows, you know, I feel like I would love for Kyle to do that, and you could do that with him, but
I'm fine. Whoever wants to do it, I offered because I know sometimes it's challenging, and you are correct. I shouldn't have spoken. Kyle did offer to look for marketing people, and I shouldn't have overstepped. If anyone wants to run it, that's fine. I am not offended. But I want to make sure that we have one point person would be the goal, and Kyle would be fantastic at that. You are correct.
I'd be happy to do it if you want me to do it.
Congratulations, Kyle. You're in charge of the subcommittee.
Right.
So the other question I have, I think we all are in agreement that we allow the process to move forward. I think, do we, you know, I think it sounds like, you know, we understand we've got the vendor that Jan is advocating for. And then what are the other alternatives that I'd be very interested to know what the alternatives are that Kyle has that he would like to put in front of the commission as well. And then we come up with what the questions of the RFP is going to be and kind of define what the process is. I mean, it's a good time to be doing it. I know one of the reasons why we're having this meeting, is because we want to make sure near term, short term with the train stopping and everything else, we gotta not leave any stones unturned to keep things as vibrant as we possibly can during the slow season. And we need to talk about that. And that's still a big subject that we need to get to. But, you know, I think the next step, and it may be in a second meeting, is to come up with that criteria and come up with the process while Kyle maybe gets his list together of other alternatives. I mean, is that a good next step there?
In my opinion, it is. And I think what I would need in order to collect some intel before we shape our RFP request is, or I'm sorry, our RFP is a number, first of all, on like trying to get some answers out of people. Here's how much our budget is. Here's what we're looking to accomplish. Is this workable? And if I have a lot of conversations like that, the people that are holding their cards close to their chest, it's going to be easy to see through those just by having a large number of conversations. And then we'll know what's realistic for the amount of money we could spend, shape our RFP, let people submit, and go from there. That's what I'm envisioning. I don't know if you guys agree.
I think that makes all sense. The other question I have is, do we want to also pursue a parallel path in seeing what kind of a potential staff member is out there, just in case there is someone living locally that is going to come out of the woodwork and, you know, they're the best thing since sliced bread and beer in a can. I'm not, you know, it's going to be more work and everything, but what's everyone's opinion on doing a parallel path as well?
I would say, why not? Yeah. You never know.
Just resources, just who's going to do it, who's going to interview, you know, who's going to review all the resumes that come in and things like that. That's all. And I'm not saying that's the reason not to do it. So
I'd be happy to look at resumes, and I'm sure other people would want to get involved in interviews because I know there's some experienced interviewers here, but I'd be happy to act as a filter just to narrow down some good candidates.
Just FYI, Amanda's going to drop and then rejoin because she's got to head down the hill, but she'll be right back on vis-a-vis phone. And does anybody else have got an opinion of pursuing the parallel path of recruitment of an employee?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, because we have an employee online with us, that this is an adjunct to what we have in the coordinator position to make it a full marketing position with coordination, correct? An adjunct rather than a replacement.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think what has to happen is, you know, if we go down this path, again, it's not as simple as, you know, trying to find people. It's, you know, someone's got to write a job description, roles and responsibilities. And we do need to overlay that with what Carolyn is doing for us. And you know, is it a contract employee? Is it a town employee? Perhaps that's irrelevant. You know, it's really the town administration's decision to say, is it more effective to have them be a contract employee versus you know, a fully benefited, high paid town employee. That was a joke. So anyway, you know,
I just didn't want to instill any job insecurity.
Yeah. So if we want to do that, I guess we need to figure out who's going to write the job description for it. Maybe very similar to what the RFP's going to hone in on too, as far as major responsibilities, right? You know, maybe that's the answer. Let's not boil the ocean. Let's discuss, and we decide when we're going to discuss it, the criteria for hiring an agency to replace Slate, and then you know, if we can wean a job description out of that, we'll do that as well. So, Kent?
I think doing the preparatory work, then it can become clear which is a better path, but I think it would be confusion to do both. to be able to talk to people about a job and then say, sorry, we're going to go with an agency, that would be difficult. And I think that would be unfair to anybody that we talk with.
I mean, that's actually a good point. Real quick, Jen, can you, if you're on, can you promote Amanda? She's trying to call in right now.
Sure.
And
Thank
then,
you.
and then I agree with you, Ken. It's kind of hard to say, you know, we've got this position, but we may not hire for the position. So, you know, I think it would be smart to move forward with the agency and then see where we end up, you know, and see if it, you know, we all may just say, no, we all really love this agency we're picking, let's go with that. And then we don't have to go through the recruitment process. You know, and I do want, if Amanda's on, you know, I want to make sure she heard that because she's the one that brought up the employee. Amanda, are you on? You're muted, so I don't know if Jen needs to unmute you or if you need to unmute yourself.
She's able to talk on my end.
Yeah, she's appeared muted on my screen.
Yes, but I mean, that's in her control is what I was meaning.
Okay.
Sorry, my phone was being really difficult when I was hitting unmute. I am on and I heard what you said.
So I just want to make sure, Amanda, you're okay with what Ken said, and that is we wouldn't want to run a parallel path of recruiting somebody as we're evaluating an agency. It'd be really an unfair process to say, okay, well, you're a really good candidate, but we decided not to hire anybody. And so the suggestion is to really go after the agency, see what's out there. You know, perhaps we'll find someone we all love and we'll decide to go that route without the recruitment process. If we fall flat on our face and not find somebody we can really get behind, wouldn't hurt to then start the recruitment process and, you know, define the role and see what people are out there. I want to make sure you're okay with that before we move down.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. My goal for this is that we end up in a situation where we have just a cohesive pathway and to an end goal, an organization getting there. That's, I mean, how we get there, I'm cool with whatever's going to work for town. So. Okay,
well, let's do that then. And if, you know, I want to make a suggestion that we maybe move on to more, this, you know, what I think is a big part of why we're together, and that is to talk about the imminent slow season coming up, overlaid with the fact that it doesn't look like COVID prevention measures are going anywhere anytime soon, well into 2021, and talk about what it is, you know, how we need to potentially pivot or do anything we can as a commission to keep moving forward during the dark season. So if everyone's okay with that, we'll move on that subject. Jan?
Can I throw one little caveat in here real quick, and hopefully it won't be a discussion, but I just wanted to ask how you guys feel as a promotions commission about adding an extra Friday to Christmas market, 2 Fridays to the Christmas market.
Kevin?
Hotel de Paris is adding not only Fridays, but Mondays as well. So I've already announced that on our Facebook events. And the reason we're doing it is because our tours are so small in capacity, we have to do more of them to try to break even. And so we're doing Friday through Monday, both weekends.
Okay.
Do the people running Christmas market have the resources to add the extra day?
Well, basically it's the vendors may or may not be able to be there on a Friday. There was a little pushback, kind of as everything else goes. Those have been around for a long time, don't want to do anything different. Those that maybe want, and the drive behind it is that we are all limiting our customers. we can't have the same big crowds, so we do need an extra day. So I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for merchants, and I know it's not really from this group, but I'll go store to store if I need to.
Well, I honestly, Jan, I think it's a great suggestion. And if the people who put the Christmas market can pull it off, it does create another opportunity to social distance and have a safer event. And I'm 110%. I have no reason to say don't do it. It sounds like a great idea. The street's going to be closed anyway through the end of the year. So let's beg the people running the Christmas market to do it. So
Okay, great. That's really just kind of what I wanted to hear. If promotions was behind it, I can go with that ammunition as well. So,
do we have anybody on the commission that feels otherwise?
I just think that we need to make sure, I think that it's a wonderful idea, but also I realize that it's a business with two people that puts on most of Christmas market, being HGI. And while it's a fabulous idea, I don't want to push them to be able to do something they can't put off. Maybe we need to put more money behind it or something else, or people ourselves. But I think that if we're going into it, we need to offer them some help with what's going on, rather than just asking them to put on an event for us for 2 extra days that already takes up 3/4 of their year. It's two
Totally
people
agree
and an
with
entire
that.
staff.
that's exactly right, Paul. And I think they need people to help. You know, a lot of us are otherwise.
I have no problem. I think it's wonderful, Jan. And I'm sure that I know everybody we know that besides naysayer types, everybody in HGI would be behind it. I think it's going to be practicality. And I'll offer whatever help we can too. So.
Okay. Thanks, Jan. Let us know what they say.
Okay.
What else? What do we want to do to, when we fall off the cliff and slow season starts, the train stops running. I checked the schedule yesterday. It looks like it's all October is kind of a TBD. It's hard to tell if the train's going to run or what they're doing. Does anybody have any intelligence on when they officially will stop? But they are stopping early. There will be no Christmas train. And there's, so what's a baseline we're looking to do and have happen as a commission to be able to look back and say, well, we did everything we could for slow season. Amanda?
So I had an idea, and this would kind of come in conjunction with the new hotel opening, which is going to be in October. And I know we've talked about this on the commission.
I think it's good. My understanding, by the way, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I heard it's more November versus October. Not that we're splitting hairs, but that's what I heard.
Well, it would give us time to get it organized. Anyway, my thought was that we do some type of a local passport, and that maybe instead of going after businesses to pay for it, we could try and find money in our budget to pay for it. And basically that we have something that goes out at the front desks of all of the hotels, as well as VRBOs. And we solicit all the businesses who want to put in an offer and talk to every single business. And the only thing I can't come up with is what they get for filling it up. But having something that people that do come to town can have, and then we could use that as a marketing tool for like if you can't do your big COVID ski vacation, you can come to Georgetown, you can stay in one of our hotels, and you get this nifty passport, and promotion sponsors the printing of it.
Go ahead, Paul, or are you raising your hand or just adjusting? Okay. I think it's, I like the idea. I don't know if we talked about it one-on-one, Amanda, or if we talked about it as a commission, but I think it's something we should definitely do, especially with the new hotel opening. I assume they would be in favor of promoting the passbook. I think they'd have every reason to do that. And we just need to talk about the logistics of printing it up and getting business participation in it before we decide who's going to participate, print it up, and then again decide what is the discount you get for coming in and getting your passbook stamped, and then what is your criteria. I mean, if you come into Georgetown and you're staying one night and you're skiing at Loveland and you're just staying one night, you know, if we require them to get the entire passbook stamped and there's 5 bars participating in it, they're going to be, you know, too drunk and they're going to lose their passport because they've been trying to get the free prize of doing it all. So how does all that work, right? You have any further thoughts, Amanda? You're on mute.
I lost you guys for a minute. I just had to rejoin. So
I guess yeah. Did you hear the question?
no.
I guess the question I have is, yeah, let's, you know, we have to, you know, we confirm that the new hotels on board and confirm the other hotels would participate. We would then need to understand which businesses want to participate in getting stamped and what their offer is for coming in and getting a stamp. And you know, for example, the brewery participates in a passbook program for breweries, and you get your passbook stamped, and it's kind of a 2-for-1 on a drink. And it's actually, I'm surprised how many people come in. And then thirdly, if they're coming in for one night, how realistic is it that they can go around town and get the entire thing stamped to win whatever the prize is going to be?
I mean, they probably wouldn't, honestly, but it wouldn't change the opportunity for people to maybe go explore town and get them specifically up to the historic district. We have, and Paul can attest to this, there's a lot of people that for some reason don't know that the historic district exists, and which is odd to us, but we hear it on the roundabout all the time where they're like, oh, we thought Georgetown was just a place to stop to get gas. And so perhaps that person that pulled off the highway would be more inclined to go explore the brewery or the jerky shop if they had a means to get there that actually enticed them. And then they would become a return visitor, which is also a good goal.
And maybe that's the answer to the fact that we don't expect them to get the thing filled up, but that they keep it in their pocket and they come back, and maybe they don't stay here, but they said, oh, I saw this cute little shop on 6th Street, and next time I'm going up I-70, I'm gonna stop, visit it, and get my deal and get it stamped. So Jan, did you have something?
There are, we do advertise in the hotel booklets that it's some kind of booklet. I don't know what it's called, but it's going to be in the new hotel. It's in a couple of the hotels, and we do like a half page, I think, and it does kind of offer a discount. And, you know, we don't get a lot of people that bring it in. It's like one of those bring this in and you get a discount kind of thing. We don't get a lot of that, but it does already exist. So not that the passport wouldn't be a good idea. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think the passport brings a whole new, you know, format that I know works, at least in the brewery and buying beer at different breweries. It's amazing. People love it.
Yeah.
It's a stamp, and I stamp it just like you were trying to get into, you know, Pakistan on your next trip. It's a really pretty stamp, and it's got our logo on it and everything else.
I have one of those. They are very cool. So,
Paul?
I keep switching devices. Sorry. So we did some research on this, and yes, Jan, we were looking at those hotel books, but Steve is absolutely right. The hotel book that you have in your room, that pay brochure thing, people are a little leery of it, but sometimes these become so popular, and if you put them in the right place, like put them at our visitor center, put them in the one downtown, if you put them in the right, and if everybody has them, they become a paid event, a paid thing eventually. If you think of some of the outlet malls, the bigger outlet mall companies, they start off free. I remember 20 years ago, and then now you buy them for like $10 and you get 20% off at every store on top of whatever those stores decide. But it goes along the same principle of never give your guest, like in restaurants, try not to give your guest cash back. Try to give your guest a voucher for a free meal or a gift certificate, because you're trying to bring them back for the experience and not just get them out of it. And the guest that's already in the visitor center, the guest that's come to town in some way, have expressed some interest in our town, most of them just want to pee, but whether or not the ones that come inside have expressed interest in our town, we can get them in here, but we might be able to get them back. And if we walk around town and not just put them in the hotel room to the person who happens to be staying in the hotel room, and you have a targeted guest, just like Steve is talking about, because that's brewery interested people. So they're looking for new breweries. And maybe if they have a brewery ticket and then they have some jerky ticket, they'll go to you, and maybe they'll go to me. And if I can give them a discount, I'll say, you get this discount if you take this back. Your discounting proves if you go into town and buy something from me on the way out. And I'll do a stage discount like that. So that would help me take my percentage of people going downtown to buy something. They go down or they don't, or you stamp their book, it proves they went in town. They can come back to me and I can log how many people I sent that way, but also we now have just sent another person who might not have gone downtown to you because of your discount and then my improved discount or some other thing incentive that I can do. And that can be, Steve, that would help us with, here's your long-term visitation. Here's your long-term, 6 ticks and you get a car. Here's your long-term thing. And then here's your short-term thing, but your short-term treat, and come back again to see us. So I'm willing to do that if we want to get into this, because it does need incentivization even beyond 10%. So I'm willing to make that out. I've talked to my board tomorrow, but I'm willing to make that out to everybody if you want to do that.
Well, and those are all good points. I like them all, and I think the other thing, and I apologize if this was part of what you said, but the actual having someone acquire the book, I mean, that in and of itself is an opportunity to capture them. You want the pass book, okay, merchant or visitor center, we're going to give you, here's your stock of pass books. You're either going to give us the pass books back because you didn't distribute them, or you're going to give us the name, address, email of the person that's taking the pass book for you. So we capture that information, and we say we need this because we need to track everything, and you've got a unique number on your pass book. And then we start building up a database, email list and things like that we can use for future uses too, right?
Right.
Well, and we can easily track that. What we could do in 2 ways is we track a lot of things anyway with us, and we could set up a frequent customer card for people if we want. But if we just use like a Google Docs or something like that and put a spreadsheet up that we're all updating every day or once a week, however often we can get to it, with every number as they come in. I know that's extra work, but it's not going to be that much. Then we're all on the same page at all time, and then we can start gathering that data however we feel we need to gather it.
Yeah,
I could start it, and then I gave this passbook to number 2454. All I need your name and email, which might be challenging or not, I don't know, but some form of communication. And then you guys can track it. Yes, they actually came here. Yes, they actually, and we can all just put a spreadsheet. Did they go to your store? X, X, X. It's just that.
Yeah, I don't know if everything's challenging, but again, it's like, how do we get your prize to you? How do we communicate with you?
Yeah.
And make it a good reason, right? And develop that relationship with them. And it's, you're now officially going to be connected to the town of Georgetown, and we're going to have a new relationship going forward vis-a-vis this passbook. So.
Yeah, and I'm up for that. I mean, I don't think it's going to be, no one's going to bludgeon us. They may just say no. Most people have a spam email address anyway. So.
All right. Well, I think we need to, move on this. So, how do we move on this? Do we I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel here. And good, Amanda's raising her hand because I know there's a lot of passbooks out there, and who knows of the best one that we should emulate. Go ahead, Amanda.
I think the first step is probably, if maybe Carolyn could help us with this, is going to every merchant and finding out what they would put in as far as an offer and and so if we could get that list compiled, then we'll know then we can get an estimate of the printing costs pretty easily, because we'll know how many pages we need. But until we know what people want to put in, it's going to be difficult for us to do any type of further research.
Carolyn, another grand opportunity for you to meet your clients. My question is, have you used a passbook before? Are you familiar with them? Will you be able to speak, to it, or do you need to get schooled up on a passbook before you actually do that?
I've never used one, but I think I understand your concept. But yeah, it'd be helpful if somebody can give me a visual. If somebody has one that I could see. So it's just I've seen the coupon books that schools have sold as a fundraiser. Is it something similar to that? No, Amanda's saying no.
This is, Google the Denver passport or Denver passbook. It looks like a passport, like an actual US passport. I might have an old one. I don't know if I have an old one at home, but the Denver passbook is actually something people buy, like Paul was saying. And it's like usually 2 businesses a page so like one on each panel, and you go in and get stamped. And so it's like, and it has like a spot where it would say like Guanilla Pass Brewery, buy one, get one beer, for example. And then every business would have a unique stamp that they would use. So the printing side of it is going to be probably, 20 pages, but it looks like a passport, like it's the same size as a passport. It's usually the same color scheme. We would maybe want to design ours a little bit differently, but the idea is that it's small enough that it can go in someone's pocket, but it's big enough that they don't lose it. And they are very like trendy and bougie, if that is a good way to describe it. They're very, very popular with like younger millennials, like Gen X type people. And they're popular with other demographics as well, because it's, everyone likes discounts. Does that help? Not really.
I think it would also help to give Carolyn an idea, like you said, 2-for-1 beer. Give her ideas of what people would, so when she's talking to the merchants, she can let them know if they're not familiar with it.
For sure. So Steve, what do you guys do for your brewery passport? I'm sorry if you said that and I missed it.
So someone walks in with their brewery passport, and unfortunately, I don't have an actual passport. People bring them in, they have it, then they obviously take it back with them. I don't hand them out. I don't know if they buy it. They probably buy it, and then they go around. But we basically have a stamp behind the bar. All the staff is trained to know when they come in. And when they turn to the Guanilla Pass page of the passport, it says, one person if they buy a beer, they get a beer for free. So they can buy, if they got 2 people, we give them 50% off each beer, however it works, but they get that value of that 1 free beer with the 1 stamp. And then they go off to their next brewery and they get another stamp.
And the key is, once it's stamped, it's redeemed. They don't get to come back and get that again. Right. The stamp is basically the utilization of the offer.
It's not a multi-entry visa.
Right. Correct. There's the Denver, there's a cocktail program I've actually tried to get into for years, but they won't take Coopers because bread bars in it. They try to avoid getting people like too close together unless you're in Lodo or something. But it's the same principle. And the people, those are purchased. That passports in Denver, when we had our last one, when we lived down there, I think we paid $50 for ours. Is that what we paid for that? It was like $50, but it got us it was like cocktails and appetizers all over Denver. And they do a summer and a winter passport out of the Denver area. And it's definitely good marketing for sure.
Shameless plug. I can provide stamps for everybody.
Oh my gosh, you can. Your stamps are awesome too.
And
Yeah.
I have retired ones, so they will be not duplicatable.
Okay, so it's very similar to something our school district used to involve and sell, and every page had but it didn't have the passport. So what's your prize, Steve, if everybody gets every brewery in the book, or how does it work?
I don't know it's not my brewery, so the organizer, the company that does the passport, I'm not sure what they give their people when they return it, but Amanda, you may know.
So I don't know if this is the brewery passport, but I know the cocktail passport. Specifically what they do is when your passport's completed, you can enter into this it's basically bragging rights, and they have like a list of who did it fastest, and then they go into some type of a drawing or entry that they win like their passport for next year or something. We would need to come up with something that's a little bit more tangible. One of the thoughts I had was maybe Dustin could get us something from Loveland, that we could get, like, if your passport gets completed, you could get entered in for like lift tickets or something. And usually Dustin is really good about stuff like that. Something small, like if we could do some type
Yeah, we're losing you, Amanda.
I don't know anyone that would do that, but I'm joking. But like a restaurant to donate, we may get like a funds the summer next year, or.
Yeah, Amanda, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if you can hear us, but I think we need a robust prize or incentive for getting it, stamped. I mean, and maybe it's a choice. You get your choice. If you're a skier, you can opt for the Loveland deal. If there may be, another thing you can get. If you're not a skier, right? So, have the incentive make sense. So I just
had an idea. Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Jim.
Steve.
No, go on.
I just had an idea. Maybe we could get one of the short-term rentals to offer a free night stay or something, and then that's promoting them at the same time, or something like that. Somehow get the short-term rentals involved.
Well, that would be, short-term rentals or even the hotel. I mean, having that would be a great incentive because it ties right back into kind of our target. And it's like, come up to Georgetown, spend a night in Georgetown, get this passbook filled up. And if you do, you can come back to Georgetown and you get, if the whole thing's filled up, you get a comped room or something. Obviously I can't speak for the short-term or even the regular hotels on that one, but that's a great idea. Okay, well, logistically, is the next step to have Carolyn go and sign up, and I use that term loosely, sign up merchant interest in being a participant, and have the merchants decide what they want to offer as their passbook stamp. And I'll tell you right now, I'll be the first one to say you get a free beer when you come into Georgetown's or to our brewery, and we're signed up, and so we'll participate. And Carolyn can go out, effectively communicate what the passbook program's all about, and get merchant interest.
So I just want to clarify on timing on this. This is something you want me to go face to face with, or make a phone call. And the reason being, I'm on vacation next week. So I am out of town all next week and won't be able to do this. That's my concern hearing this. So it sounds like you want this turnaround pretty fast.
Well, we do. I guess to answer the question about in person or face to face, I leave that up to you. I don't know what kind of relationships you're building with the merchants beyond this commission. Hopefully they're good, solid, productive relationships. You guys are becoming best buddies. You're telling them where to go eat great wings, since that's your passion. And perhaps, efficiently, you can call those people and say, hey, this is your buddy Carolyn, and this is what we're doing, and are you in or are you out? And maybe there'll be other people that you don't have a great relationship that you may have to go back and go face to face again and meet them. I don't have the answer is, yeah, we want to do this yesterday. I think this would be a high priority thing, and vacations are what they are. So, short of not having a backup volunteer to do it, then, we just need you to get it done as soon as possible.
All right, and I don't have the bandwidth this week because I've got the Colorado Tourism Conference all day tomorrow. That's my concern. I'm looking at my calendar and what's coming up. The earliest I'm going to be able to do this for sure, because the last time I had to make phone calls to every merchant, it took me all day, and I don't have a full day in this next week before I leave on vacation. So I don't get back until the 29th. I'm back, and we could do it starting on the 30th. So I could commit to doing it 30th, 1st, and 2nd is the days I've got now.
And
so I want to set expectations. I don't want to commit to something that I know I can't do.
Could we maybe try and send out an email at first and see if I know that Georgetown's not exactly known for their email responsiveness, but could you maybe send an email today or tomorrow and just say, the Georgetown Business Promotions Commission is working on a passport program to give to overnight guests that will be visiting this winter. Can you please write back to me if you are interested in participating, and explain a little bit that the goal would just be to offer some type of a discount or incentive for people to come get their passport stamped, and maybe see if you get email responses that would possibly help us?
Yeah, no, the email is super simple, but like you said, I've had limited success contacting our merchants on email. It just seems like very few are email oriented. So I'm happy to do that work today. I can get that done today. At least it gets us a start, and I could do follow up when I get back.
So I have a question. Are we selling these passports, or are they going to be free? They're free.
Yeah.
My vision was that they would be free.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they just for overnight guests, or like if people came in during the week, just during the day, and we could get this in their hands?
I mean, that we could discuss that. My original vision was that possibly, that it would basically be targeted to people at hotels. And I heard Jen say VRBOs. That was also basically that would be where it would be given. Not that because to keep the printing costs down, what I didn't want was like, and again, if we can modify this, was like having them say at Cooper's, for example, and then having people take 5 and then they go on the floorboard of the car and they don't get used.
Well, I'll weigh in here. I would love to see it go beyond the hotels, but I fully agree. It can't just be sitting on Cooper's countertop and they grab them. If the merchant's going to actively promote the passbook to people just walking in, whether they're staying in a hotel or not, or the brewery is, we would want to have standards in place to say, you don't give someone a passport unless you check these boxes off, get their name, address, phone number, name, and all of that, and kind of make it where, not that they earn it, but it's not just a random event, and it's not just a bill stuffer thing they get to grab out of the mail or something like that.
I would add the visitor center is a good spot for them too, but that would be up to Paul, obviously.
But there has to be
I'm totally behind it. I'm sorry.
No, I apologize. I think the glue that I'm looking for to not make it sit on the floorboard of your cars, there has to be some interaction with the employee at the visitor center or the person at the hotel to say, here's why this is special. Usually you have to buy them. And here's how the program works, right? And engage in a 2-minute, 3-minute conversation with them. I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, I was going to say, I'm so sorry. What I was going to say is that we're totally behind this. We were pursuing this a couple of years or several now, I guess, because Alicia started going through this program, and there was some pushback at that time, but I don't think they'll receive the same thing. And we wanted to sponsor we wanted to sponsor a program similarly, and it would have been too big a run for anyway. And she got promoted, so and then went to school. But I'm interested in helping house this. I think they should be at the hotels too. And we can look into the logistics of what we're going to do to make sure that we're limiting them. And if push comes to shove, we could always charge $10, but the $10 is going to be given back to you in your first purchase, or it's given back to you back at me, or you pay it and I refund it the minute you show me that you spent money somewhere. We could do it that way too. Like you just have to go to one restaurant and then you go to that restaurant, come back. That might be a lot of work, but we can limit the amount of it and still get it to where people have a certain amount of time to use the book, and so that it doesn't end up on the floorboard. Like we could say this is good like Denver does. They specifically do, you could do it this many months or this many months, and we could limit it. That might cost more, or your number is limited, and that's why I'm talking about spreadsheets, so we can look up numbers in the beginning. But anyway, those logistics, we can all work those out. Carolyn, can you send with that email? You must have a volunteer list into our list, and maybe, I don't know how long it would take you to take your contact list and then make a really quick checkoff spreadsheet that you could put up on a Google Docs, or I don't know what you use for something that we can all share. And then maybe we can all do our outreach after we look at the Passport program to people that we know in business that tend to be our friends. I'm certainly not walking into some stores because I think I'll be thrown at me, but I'm happy to talk to people that are my friend that I know on 6th Street, or I know around everywhere in town, and say, we're doing this thing, and I can just mark off what they're in for or what their potential is, or they can think about their potential, and then we can help you get it covered. I know that you've got a lot going on today and tomorrow, but also some of those seminars, you can do some multitasking in them tomorrow if you want. Is that something that's doable for you? Because I'm willing to do some of that work, that legwork.
I still don't know that I've got a complete picture here. What's the prize? I mean, like, what do we have this nailed? Like what
I
we're
don't
doing?
think you need a complete picture. I think you just need to know that you're trying to get some buy-in. You look at the other Passport programs, say that we're offering a prize. We haven't worked out those details. We haven't worked out full logistics, but we are trying to get as much buy-in as possible for this program that we're doing, and then we'll be giving you details as we move forward. And I think that once we get that to know that we only have 2 stores buying in or 20, we can know exactly where we're going in the future of it, because they don't need to know every single detail yet. We don't even know every detail. We are working on that. We just need to know if you're in for this step and the next step.
Is every merchant going? So here's the other question. So if I'm a merchant, am I supposed to be keeping track of who I give it to? And what do I, in addition to telling you that I want to put an ad in, what else do I have to do?
Give a discount. And I would love it. Personally, I want data from it.
I do too.
Me too.
So
but some people don't.
If they come in and I have passports, I want to capture their name, their email. I want to assign that information to that number on that passport. And I did just ask my son what you get for completing the brewery passport. And he said it's just bragging rights. He would never be able to complete it. He'd need to be 20 something and single again and have the time and the liver for it. So maybe you don't, I mean, we could do a prize, but not everybody gives prizes.
Well,
I just had can I give out a quick idea? I'm sorry. I was just thinking maybe, when we get it all together, that maybe we could put it out, advertise the Passport on the Facebook and Instagram, and then they could come pick it up maybe at the visitor center or something like that, or even reach out to the Colorado Tourism Office and advertise that we have the Passport through them. I don't know.
Yeah, there'll be a big marketing blitz. I mean, of course, that's what you're doing it for. That's it. I would think that's a given.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome. And I can help with that marketing blitz, but I'll be blitzing it on everything I get. I'll be sharing it with everybody I know. I mean, I'm sure Cass will be on it, and we'll make that happen. The data tracking, Carolyn, for people who are still stuck in the early part of the 20th century and don't use computers, they can all just write down, look, passport number 5422 came in today. They stamp it and they can say they spent $40. And then we can go and we can make those calls once a month or whatever, or date someone, we can figure out a way to do that and then put that in that spreadsheet that I was talking about on Google Docs. Then we'll know exactly how much each person spent, and we can find out if it's worth doing the program, but we can also find out this many people came from this series of numbers came from me at the visitor center. This series of numbers came from somebody staying at a hotel, and this series of numbers. We can really get some great demographic information from this. And I think that's the whole point of this. No one at their store, Jan, would need to get those emails and stuff, because that would be a criterion of having a passport. So we would gather that for you.
But could
and then
I
share
have
it.
passports at my store? I mean, if I have people in my store and I have 10 passports, you know, I would like to say, oh, would you like to have this passport? And here's what you have to do to get this. I need this information.
That's what the outlet malls do.
And then also that would be a marketing thing for me as a merchant as well.
Mind you, I would want to share all that marketing data with everybody.
Right.
But we could
Sure.
see how we could do that. Anyway, I think I've said a lot.
So are you charging for these or not? Because that's something else we've got to be able to tell people.
No,
I don't think so.
Okay. So they're free to anybody. Merchants can choose to give them out or not, right?
there'll be an option. We're looking at an option of either distributing it through a limited number of venues such as the visitor center, or we will have a limited availability if the merchants want to promote it. So that's the answer to that one. Again, we're going to, I think, if what's an example of what I get if I get them all stamped? We don't have an answer yet, but we're looking at several options such as free ski passes to Loveland. We're going to look at other merchants locally that would want to participate. Maybe it's a free night in a hotel or in a short-term rental. We're going to explore all that, but that gives you an idea, prospective merchant, of what you're going to get. So, you can sell that to them.
Okay.
What other questions you have?
So, but that would be a drawing, right? And did you decide if there's 20 merchants participate, do you need all 20 to get into the drawing?
You need to get the entire passbook stamped. I think that's the spirit of it, in order to be
Okay.
entered into the drawing.
Okay. All right, and the merchants would be expected to collect some basic information for anybody they're giving it to. So maybe the back page of the booklet could be a tear off that gets filled out.
That's a good idea. I mean, I like that idea. So yeah, we want some basic information from them as they're handing some of the Facebook or the passbook, such as name, address, telephone number, email, and and that's what's required before you hand them the passbook as a merchant. And then the other side of it is when they come into your place, you're gonna have a stamp. You're gonna stamp it, and the merchant needs to tell you what they think their offer is, and you can give them examples of some offers. You heard several of those examples on the call right now, and ask them what do you want to give. And then lastly, I think Paul's point was, if someone gets stamped, it'd be great to get a feedback mechanism. So if you walk into my brewery, you get your passport stamped by me. Perhaps I then take the initiative to capture their receipt that they spent at the brewery, and I'm going to provide that to a central place to then say, hey, they came in, they got a free beer at Guanella Pass, but they bought $25 worth of beer. How phenomenal was that? That was a good move on my part, right? Did I get that right, Paul? I assume so.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just
Okay.
looking at some of them, and most people offer about 20 to 65% off, but that's a sold version of a passport, so it doesn't have to be that much.
Yeah, so you can make those suggestions, Carolyn, as you're talking to your best friends out there.
Okay, so they would give me their offer. They'd let me know whether they'd want to pass them out, and would we ask them all to capture receipts, or is that a voluntary thing? Like, is that an expectation if you participate that we want you to keep this data?
Don't scare them off at this point. Just tell them what our thinking is. Don't scare them off. We want to get them hooked. We want to get them hooked into the program, and everything you're selling them on is to say, Mr. or Mrs. Merchant, you want to do this because you're a historic downtown merchant. This is all geared to pull people downtown with this passbook. What a great thing. Paul's going to have his staff work their butts off giving people this passbook. The new hotel is going to be giving this new passbook out, and then people are going to be driving in droves downtown with their passbook to get all the freebies and get stamped. It's fun. Go ahead, Ken.
That's good. Okay.
When are we thinking of getting this out? Like after Christmas?
I would say our goal should be honestly be to get them done ahead of Christmas market, because that's going to be a real opportunity for us to advertise the program. I mean, in a realistic sense, I would say potentially if we could pull it off in November, like getting them out in early November, right after Loveland opens, that would be ideal.
That's a great goal to have. That's a great timeline. Did you catch that, Carolyn?
I did. So what's the deadline for making a decision and getting into the book?
What's the lead time on printing, I guess, is going to be that'll be the driver.
I would say October 4th, because that would give us 3 weeks to get them printed. And we could, I mean, what do you guys think? Because then we'd have them by November 1st.
Do we want these out during Christmas market? I mean, that I'm a little concerned with people, if they brought them at Christmas market, keeping up with getting the information, stamping. I mean, Christmas market is kind of nuts. Or do we want to have a start date on the passports? Like they start January 1st or?
I really would love for the Christmas market people to, if they want to take advantage of it, to get it. They're already downtown, start getting them hooked into the program. Again, the idea is for repeat business. So now they came and saw a great Christmas market. They're going back home with their passbook, and maybe in the dark days of January, they're going to come back up and say, okay, I'm going to go grab that free beer at the brewery, or I'm going to go get that free package of jerky from the jerky shop.
The other thing I was going to say, Jan, and I know, yes, you're right, Christmas market's crazy. And I think that was part of my vision with this originally, was that it would just be at the hotel front desks or the VRBOs to eliminate the merchants having to do a lot of work. And then if some merchants want to take that on, maybe they just don't do it at the Christmas market, but hotels already have one-on-one interaction and already getting that information. So them, the passport would be like an extra 20 seconds.
And I think that's a good point. Especially for Carolyn. Again, we want to sell this program and make it easy for the merchant. So I wouldn't want you, Carolyn, to get sidetracked in your conversation, to have the merchant feel like this is going to be too much of a pain in the butt. The ideal situation is the passport. You're a merchant. All you have to do is, here's your stamp. Tell me what your offer is. When someone comes in and they show you your page in the book, you stamp it. And to the degree you're willing to give us data on what they bought from your store, great. But your only basic requirement to participate in the program is to stamp the book and give that person your offer. And that way we don't scare them off.
Yeah, that was my concern when I heard all this other stuff, is that if that's expectation for all the businesses, that is a deterrent for sure.
And then we can go back after the fact, because I think Paul is bringing up a really valuable data point that we would love to get. Once we get the program up and running, we can do a follow-up with the merchants and say, hey, how's it going? Did you get people to come in and get it stamped? Yeah. Well, we got a favor to ask of you, and here's what we want you to do. And let's make this thing work, but it's going to be, you got to sell it, Carol. You got to sell it.
I know. So tell me, now I haven't heard any agreement on when is it effective. Is it January through March? Is it November through January? What's your decision on that?
From the time that I would say the end date, I don't know. I mean, when you get the pass book, it should be valid for, is it a year? And then what, if you have a start date, that kind of limits the year. Do you basically get the pass book, and does the pass book have a date registered on it that the visitor puts in, and it expires 12 months from the date that's written on your pass book? Do we have a cutoff like in January or February? Okay, we've distributed all the pass books, so we know, when to have the drawing, and it may be 14 months after the first person got their pass book, but I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there.
I said in the chat, I would maybe think about having it be just like through the winter. I mean, again, this is not my hill to die on if we want to do it a year, but we don't need to incentivize summer. We need to incentivize this winter that is going to be the hardest winter we've all ever faced. So my suggestion would be to end it Memorial Day.
Yeah, I like that.
Or maybe the end of June.
That honestly, Jan, that's not bad. I mean, we could go, maybe we end it, we stop handing them out Memorial Day and they're valid through the end of June. And then that way we have, we get that nice summer, normal rush that we all are used to and we all count on, and we don't need to be discounting things in the middle of summer. We don't have to incentivize summer. And then we have the drawing like July 1st or something.
And you guys can work out these details, obviously. But if I finish my passport, what do I do with it?
You'll be submitting it to somebody for review. There will be a process to check it off. My guess is if you're really that much into the program and got it all stamped, you're going to want to keep it as a souvenir, because you're going to want to have the next pass book when we figure out what that is. So go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, it takes so long to unmute. My suggestion, and I know that you're going on vacation, but my suggestion is that you and we just call somebody, hopefully you, but maybe not, call the passport, because you have a lot on your plate. Call the passport people and get their whole procedure list. So if somebody has a prize, which I don't think they do, but get what their procedure list is. I'll look into somebody else who does the same thing and see if they'll give me their procedure list. And then we can find out what the realities of that part are for our logistics, that when we have this actual logistics discussion, we can do it.
I don't think the passport people are super friendly, honestly. I don't think that they'll share that with her. I wish they would, but I've tried to deal with, maybe Steve could get it because he's in the brewery passport, but they're very Denver. That's a verb right now, an adjective, if that makes sense.
So is this is an actual company that does this? I'm sorry, this is the first I'm picking up on that.
Yes, this is like a company in Denver, Carolyn, and they're actually like a nationwide thing. This is not, I didn't invent this idea. This is blatant plagiarism to benefit Georgetown.
But we wouldn't be going through them, right?
No, we do it on our own.
Doing our own thing.
Yeah, no, yeah. They wouldn't deal with us anyway. Like I said, they're very Denver, and they're very and they should. They are a really great marketing firm, and what they've done is really smart. I mean, but I don't think they're gonna just be like, here, this is how we do it. I mean, I don't know if we need to that, honestly. We need to know what people will do. And then this group is smart enough that we could figure out the back end.
Right. But you got the right people in the room right now. That's why I'm kind of asking you to make these decisions, so that you don't have to get back together later and say, okay, when people are done now, what do they do with it? Like, if you can decide that now, then we've got it, right?
We'll figure out who they turn it into. If it's the visitor center, if it's to the hotel and then we have a central collection, that it's going to get turned into somebody. That'll be the basics.
Me, just turn it into me. I'll have a box.
Okay. Turn it
Figure
into public.
out.
That makes sense.
And plus, if you do it, maybe I'll give another incentive. I don't know. Like, I do want to give an incentive to go to my store normally, and then an incentive, but that might be different. My main incentive might just be you go into town, you show that you spend money in town, you get your passport stamped, and then I will give you your incentive for my store. But I just turn it into me. We can work out the logistics. I was just making that suggestion because it seems that we're all up in the air. And then why don't we have a group email address? We could do all the rest of this through email in bullet points.
Carolyn, does that give you what you need initially to be able to move forward?
Yep, and I can try to do some of this on Friday, but then I'm out. I've got to work on Saturday in town because I've got vendors starting for the first time in the booths, and so Saturday's shot, and then I'm packing and leaving Dodge. Bad timing, I guess, for me, but
All right,
I haven't
just
had a vacation all year, so we're going.
get your email going and then hurry up and get back from vacation. And while you're on vacation, I want you thinking about this from morning till night. And I don't want you to have any fun. Just keep working on this while you're on vacation.
You got it. So before we go, I heard early in this conversation some comments about the scarecrows. Are you guys not supportive of that? Because that was on my list of things to get done today, was to get the write-up and get it out to the various organizations. So pull the plug now if you don't like it.
Liking it has nothing to do with it. You've already started the ball, and it's something to decorate the downtown. Do it. My suggestion is that if you're putting an email out, to say that people dress them like miners or something. And then we can look to the future about maintaining branding. But this is something you're trying to do very quickly. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter whether or not people like it. It's a matter of getting something going, and you're doing it. So have fun.
Yeah, the comment Carolyn Paul made was suggest that they dress up their scarecrows as miners.
Okay. I where I've seen it done before, it's everybody comes up with their own theme. So a Girl Scout troop might put it in a Girl Scout uniform, and that's the whole goal, is to make them all kind of unique and different.
Carolyn, run with it. Do what you think is right, and get something done there as you are. And I think I think it's, thank you for taking the initiative and getting something going there. Just make sure if there's a horse or a burro running through town, they don't eat the scarecrow.
Or the wind blowing the straw away. That's my other concern. But, and again, because we can't have official events, I'm just looking for things that I can advertise that get people to come up and get into town. That's everything that I've done so far is all about something I can advertise, and maybe it'll strike a chord with somebody and they'll drive to Georgetown to see. So this was just another one of those ideas. If you had quirky little scarecrows, it's something I can advertise every week and people might come up to see them.
Make sure they all have masks on.
Clever.
There might be some time in between you get the booth set up on Saturday and when you take them down. Maybe you could use that time to talk to some of the merchants about the passport even.
Oh, no, that's for sure. I can definitely get some stuff done on Saturday. So, and just so you know, I have all out marketed those booths in Georgetown, and I spent probably about 6 hours with potential booth renters on Monday, just inundated. My email box was blowing up and people had tons of questions. And but yeah, starting as early, and that went out Sunday. I think the marketing went out Sunday, and I think I already have 2 vendors that might be there already this Saturday. So we're still working out the details. There's information I have to collect from them all, and they have to prepay and all that stuff. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks you'll start to see those booths being used.
Carolyn, going back to that thing about do we like and not like and branding, if you have a plan for what you're doing for rollout, so that there's some times that we're not finding it out right before you're doing it. And I know that this is a period when we are all doing that. So this is no statement of negativity toward your work. But if you end up starting to come up with those ideas so that there's some kind of a rollout, since we know we're going to be in this into next year, it would be really great, because then we could review it, find places to help you, find places to guide you so that we're maintaining branding. And so that way you don't come back. You're always going to have it a little bit, but you don't come back and you're already rolling out and someone says, oh, I don't like that idea. And that way you can move forward without necessarily, you at least can have some ammunition by saying, this is on our brand because this was put out before we've reviewed this at a committee level or at the main level. And then I've moved forward with this, and we can help guide you better, because I think there's nothing more defeating, and I tend to be one of those people that does it. There's nothing more defeating than having something rolling and then somebody saying, hold on, I don't really like scarecrows, who cares? We're moving forward with this. Let's make this happen. But if we have a future plan, then we can all work together on it. And then you have the full body and you have a lot of spirit behind you to just say, yeah, that's what we're doing on. Thank you very much for your input. We'll take that into consideration in the future. I think it'll save you some headache.
Okay. In my defense, though, at the last Business Promotions Committee is where I had that on my list of things to talk to you guys about, but we were at the end of the meeting and nobody really did. And when I've sent emails, there's been a few times I've reached out to the commission with asking for feedback or asking for things, and I've gotten literally 0 replies. So
Okay,
I kind of feel...
Again, this wasn't a criticism in my defense. And I just want to be clear, a long-term plan is very helpful. So Steve wants to talk.
All right, let me back up now that I'm not muted. Carolyn, just put the email out there. We don't want to wait for a monthly meeting or anything else, and let them know kind of what you're thinking of. Say, look, I would appreciate any responses you have, and by this date. And if I don't hear from you, then I'll move forward. If I hear from you, I will definitely take that into consideration. It doesn't mean I'm going to do what you say. We're not trying to have you not be able to get your job done and pivot and move forward quickly. But the onus is on the commission to read your emails, and if we feel strongly about it, respond to it. If you don't get a response, then that, in my opinion, no response means keep going, Carolyn, and go get it done. All right. And if you do get a response, it doesn't mean you have to do what's being said or anything. If there's some questions that you can answer and clarify, great. Does that help you?
And that's what I've done, obviously, because most of the things that I've not gotten any feedback on, we just keep going. I assume if somebody had an objection, they would definitely reply to the email. And if they didn't reply, well, then I'm going to take that as you're okay with it, and I'm moving forward, which is how we ended up with Art in the Park. It's how we ended up with some of the other things that we're doing. So,
yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think this is a process of all of us learning how to work with a promotions coordinator that's actually working hard to get stuff done. So we'll get better over time, all of us.
So the other thing I guess I'm going to ask, because I've got you the right people in the room, is the promotions that you've been seeing, and if you're not on Facebook, you probably aren't seeing them, that I've been putting together. Are they getting better? Like I'm trying desperately to make Travis not reject my things I'm giving him.
I don't have any comment, Paul. You're on mute. Why don't you unmute yourself?
No, I'm sorry, that was a private comment. But I would like to see us spend a little extra money on graphics. I don't think Travis should be rejecting what you're doing. I think he should be helping you. But I do think that we need some reach out. And like I said about the last event, the one that was for the music for Mountain Jams, there was no outreach, and that is an event that a multi-group event. So I appreciate the energy and the time that goes into that, and that you're trying to get something out there. But at the same time, I understand Travis's point, because no sponsors were mentioned, different things like that, and you can't know that, and so you're stepping in it, and that's not that's not fair to you. So they're doable. They're not branded, and we're supposed to have a town branding. And I think that that's our fault, because we haven't really given you the tools you need to make that happen. If that makes sense. They are perfectly appropriate for what you're doing and for what you were hired for and your skill level. But as far as and I will be flatly honest, as far as looking like professionally marketed materials, they don't.
Yeah, I'm not a graphic
And
artist.
it's not your fault. That's not what you do. You're not a graphic artist.
Right. That's what I keep telling Travis. I'm not a graphic artist. And it's good you mentioned that they're sponsored, because I didn't know that. So I'm simply getting the word out that there's a band in Georgetown. And you're right. I'm not listing sponsors. Until you just said that, I had no idea that that was something, that there's businesses or somebody that ought to be on those. So today is my day. It takes me an hour and a half to push them out. And today was my day to push out our Artists in the Park for this week and the Mountain Jams. I'm just waiting to hear back from Tim on who the band's going to be on Sunday. They're going to do Saturday and Sunday this week. I know Saturdays. I don't know Sundays, but I don't know who the sponsors are. Will Tim know? Because I need to know where I get that information.
Well, you can reach out to me, but nobody asked that posters be made for Mountain Jams, because we made a very specific marketing plan for that didn't involve postering it every week and sending out, and it didn't mention anything about social distancing and not a sit-down concert. So I got some pushback, because I have to work with the library who owns the stage. So there's a lot of stuff going on, because we're trying to do that, and we're trying to maintain, not get shut down or end up with a large newspaper story in Denver about a COVID center. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the way that we're trying to market it, and it's very delicate. And I never asked that marketing go out from the town. And so it went out from the town, and it's a whole different onus when you send it out from us than if we share it lightly in Facebook. So I would personally, and I don't know how the commission feels about it, because they are one of the sponsors here, but I would personally just say that I would rather share it on my stuff in the way that I know that it's going on, and then have it go organically through Facebook than the town actually advertise the event at this point. But that might be stupid and short-sighted, so I'm going to back off that. But as far as it goes, if we're doing it, I'll tell you, I'll send you an email. The sponsors are very short. They're our organization. They're the library. They are the Georgetown Heritage Center and Cultural Arts. And I know that, and then we had some in that Shop International gave money. Those are the ones who have sponsored this. The three that I mentioned, the three that I mentioned in the beginning are would be larger font or larger placement sponsored. They're above, and then the lower sponsor would be Shop International. Then we have to have a statement about social distancing, and this is not and a positive statement about social distancing, and this being a background concert using our street ped mall and using our parks and our restaurants, so that we make sure that we're letting the public know that this is what the intention is. And then from there, as far as the way the look goes, I guess we're doing this weekend. If you want to put that together and do it that way, I will share it everywhere. I shared yours last week, and I did a disclaimer on every one I shared. And I put it on my two organizations. But remember, every organization in this is liable somehow. So if we don't have that kind of statement in it, we're all going to get pushback. And so that's what I would, if you want to add those statements to it and do it, I'll share it. And I think they're getting better in that way. And then what we can talk about for future stuff is how we're going to do branding together, because I talked to Tim recently. We have a branding program, but I'm trying to get he seems to have lost the graphics. So I'm working on that part too.
All right. So you're going to follow up and tell me who the sponsors are for the next couple of weekends?
I just did. Did you write them down?
No, I'm sorry. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay.
Can you
yes,
send them
I'll email
to
them
me,
to you. I'll email them to you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very helpful. So let me back up. You keep saying we have a brand. What do you mean by that? Like, is there colors I should be using? Yeah,
I think that, with that program specifically, which is actually a library event that the town got into later, that event was Friends of the Library. So there is we worked on a brand for years. We had it for years. This is the first year we haven't used the artwork that we've had in the past, which has specific artwork, color design, and stuff that was done by a graphic artist for us about 10 years ago. So we've been reusing that art for years, and it's branded. As far as the town brand goes, we paid for a branding package, and I'm sorry that we haven't shared that with you and helped you with that. We paid for a branding package when we got Slate, and we were going on that branding package with Vintage Colorado. I believe that it had full color theme, everything that we're supposed to be using. Usually it has fonts and sizes and all kinds of stuff that we're supposed to be representing. So that would be something we would do, but you can't know how to do that unless you're some kind of a graphic artist thing. So we'll share all of that with you so that you can know what's going on. And I understand there's on the fly and there's being able to do something in marketing plan. So I get the difference between the two of them, but it's just sometimes it is better to ask permission than it is to ask forgiveness. And so as far as Mountain Jams goes, that was library driven. And then we just happened to buy into it later when I was the chair of the library board. I've been the chair of the library board for 6 years. So that's where we 7. So that's where we bought into it later, because we were doing something for the town that we wanted the town to help us with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, hey
Sure.
guys.
So do you want me to promote it
I'll
or
tell you
not?
what, call me, email me, whatever, because I don't want to, let's just not. Yeah, I agree, Steve, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Carolyn, let Paul email. Carolyn, I don't know if you've got more questions, but we probably need to take some of this offline to the degree Paul or anybody can help you, because we've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I want to respect people's time, and I do want to ask the group, do we want to have a follow-up meeting before the next promotions meeting? The next promotions meeting would be on October 7th. And do we want to have a meeting in 2 weeks' time on September 30th, which is in 2 weeks from today? It'll give Carolyn a chance to do her work, and we can get a status on the whole passbook thing and discuss any other initiatives we may not have had time for here. Does anybody on the commission got do we want to set a meeting for 2 weeks from today?
I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that as well. If you want me to give any updates on website stuff, I can let you know where we're at.
That would be, yeah, thanks, Kyle. That definitely would want to be on the agenda too. So that meeting would be an update from Kyle, an update on agencies, an update from Carolyn on passbook merchant participation, and then more tactical discussion on getting the passbook printed, and then reserve some time for other things that people are thinking about beyond the passbook that we could discuss as a group. Is everyone cool with that?
Yep.
Okay, I'll have Jen ask Jen to put that in the schedule and posting, and we'll all talk as a group in 2 weeks. And then if anything happens in the meantime, let's take advantage of that phenomenal 21st century tool of email.
Are we allowed to bullet point some things that we need that we're doing and discuss them in email if it's not a voting for money thing?
I think we have to be
Legally?
mindful of sunshine laws, but I think as long as we're prepared for the fact that that those emails are public and not because they are, I don't know, Jen.
Yeah, if you guys want to discuss things via email. Is that the question? I
Yeah, like
don't think
operational
they're
things.
allowed-
Like I was going to suggest we have, figure out some heater system out on 6th Street, and Kevin wants to give updates on banners, and I had some suggestions for banners. And these are things we can vote on in a sunshine law meeting and reiterate. But as far as this back and forth of, daily operational stuff and logistics, those things I think would be better done in an email, but I don't know if it's legal.
I think you can, just as long as you follow it up with if there's an actual decision on certain things in the meeting itself. You'll be fine.
And then I'm on.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time and efforts, and we will talk in 2 weeks. Otherwise, we'll see you on the email.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve,
Thank you.
Yeah.
when you have a sec, can you sign the July and August minutes and send them back to me? I email them to you, or they're in your box at Town Hall.
Okay, I'll definitely get those done. I'll be up before week's end, and I'll just stop by Town Hall and sign them. Every time I go there, for some reason I go there during lunchtime. So I will.
Okay.
I'll get that taken care of. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, and I'll post that workshop on the 30th, 8 a.m.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.